Hey, this is Kingfish. For the longest time, I had been using this home screen, and it's okay, I guess. It kind of harkens back to a very old vision that I had for the game, which was best conveyed in images that include broad, sweeping vistas of a fantasy forest, which I've actually since moved away from. You see, the original game design included the ability to hop between different nodes on a world map, kind of like a 360-degree Slay the Spire. That was actually one of my first hooks. But I've found since then that robbed the game of a sense of immersion, where you feel really lost and afraid in an ancient forest where the path turns, and sometimes you don't feel like you have control over where you're supposed to go. This is a feeling that I actually got when I read The Lord of the Rings as a teenager, specifically the part where the hobbits were going through the old forest before they meet Tom Bombadil. So, for lack of a better term, I kind of zoomed the game in and added trailhead markers to the edges of the screen, kind of like Hades, but also kind of like the original Legend of Zelda, which means that I got rid of the overland map or the zoomed out view entirely. It's completely gone. So, as a consequence, the art no longer seemed to fit, and I decided that it would make more sense to replace that art on the home screen. Problem is I'm not really that great of an artist. So the idea came to me, why not just build a scene in the homepage and have something interesting going on in the background, kind of like a fight. So that's what I did, and this is how it plays out. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it, but importantly, under the hood, I did something pretty straightforward. I do want to show you. So every few seconds, I'm checking to see if the number of units for factions that I have ingeniously called allies and enemies is less than or equal to 3. And if so, then I spawn a new enemy, and then I tell it to go fight in the middle of the map. Here's the thing. It took like 14 seconds before I saw the little error message of doom pop up at the bottom of the page. See, this is the console, and it's where any debugging messages, or more importantly, errors, are logged. The white messages are usually good, the red are bad. And I started to see a lot of red. I fixed a couple issues, I hit play again, and it made it like 30 seconds. It was just about then that a vague idea started creeping into the back of my mind. That is, this could be a great way to do automation. I mean, it's not literally automation, but it does kind of let you kick back and simulate a ton of fights to catch any potential issues. It also means that since I don't have to play the game in order to observe units fighting, it lets me see things that I wouldn't otherwise see if, because I was focused on something else. So then I actually added a little kill counter, which also helped me realize that on average, it looks like my allied units are a little overtuned, and I should probably reel those back a little to provide a balanced game experience. So I'm still working on that one, but my point is this. If you are a solo dev like me and you got to be your own QA, this is actually a pretty good idea to identify any potential issues. So speaking of QA, I actually announced a closed beta yesterday, and I want to make absolute sure that none of the Brave playtesters encounter any significant bugs when they open up the game. I'm sure there will be some here or there, but I owe it to them to not be my QA. That's my job. They should be able to just focus on the gameplay and help me overcome what's called developer blindness, which is a term used to describe a phenomenon where something obvious to a common person is basically invisible to me because I've been looking at the same screen for the last 2.5 years. So here's an example. There's an ability called Net, which casts a net, as you can imagine. The problem is that I haven't re-added the critters that you can actually catch with the net to the game. I had that once, I took it out because it wasn't stable, and it took a playtest with a friend where they kept trying to cast the net over an enemy to make me realize that, holy smokes, it's not obvious to them, of course, because why would it be, that I hadn't fully implemented the pet catching mechanic yet. It seems obvious in retrospect, but I guess I've got a bad case of the developer blindness. Anyway, if you're interested in helping me find a cure to that blindness, I'd love to invite you to a closed beta launching on November 1st. If you're interested, please join our Discord. Links are in the description below. And join a small community that will have quite a large opportunity to shape the future of the Waking of Haven. that does also include a lot of opportunity to shape the creative direction based on the feedback that I receive. As always, liking and subscribing and adding a comment would be so helpful. I am trying to grow the channel. And thank you so much for viewing. Have a wonderful day.